Remember the Nick Jr. Noggin show? Wow. Wubbzy? It was about a gerbil named Wubbzy who has fun with his friends Widget, Walden, and Daisy in the city of Wuzzleberg. They also solve everyday problems like telling the truth, sharing, and others. I was a big fan of the show since I was little. I had all the DVDs and merchandise until my mom sold it a few years ago. My name is Jimmy. I want to tell you the creepiest thing I have ever seen in my life. I went to the local Goodwill to find DVDs of my favorite shows such as SpongeBob and other shows. I came across a VHS that had Wubbzy on it. I was confused. Wubbzy had a VHS release? I looked at it. The cover had Wubbzy looking rather sorrow with a chainsaw to his head. I took out the tape and it said, wow WUBBZY early reel, not to be shown to public. The early reel of the show meant things were different, so I bought it. I got Burger King, put it in the VCR, and pressed play. The Paramount logo started, which I thought was confusing. I thought Anchor Bay Stars did the DVD releases. The video started with text that read, this early reel of the upcoming show wow, Wubbzy, contains blood and gore. Do not watch under any circumstances. I dismissed the text as a sick joke. A Nick Jr. logo popped up. That was weird because I thought the Stars logo would be there. This show was owned by Nickelodeon Nick Jr., so there might be no worry. The logo was pretty off, but also slightly direful. The orange Nick looked decapitated, i.e. head torn off, and the blue Jr. was screaming horrifyingly. I got a little scared. The Wubbzy intro came on, but I noticed that it was different. The alarm clock rang, but Wubbzy demolished it. He said as usual, wow everyone. My name is Wubbzy, line, but he said it in a sad way. Wubbzy walked slowly instead of using his tail to get down to the slide. When Wubbzy got down, he fell. Wubbzy looked depressed for the whole intro. I also noticed that Widget looked annoyed, like if something she disliked happened, and Walden was scared seemingly for his life. What happened that made them so unhappy? The sky was pitch dark, and Wuzzleberg looked like a ghost town of some sort. When Wubbzy says his wow, at the end, he says it sadly. The title card came up. It read, the worst moment in Wuzzleberg. Wubbzy had a gun to his head. Widget was hanging from a noose, and there was a corpse of Walden. The background was a mix of black and red, and there was a small 666 at the bottom of the words. Almost ultimately complicated to find. The episode started. Wubbzy was playing with his kickity kickball, until he got to the Cookie Kid. Wubbzy said, you wanna play with my kickity kickball? The Cookie Kid said, your tail is Cookie. Wubbzy paused for a moment and whispered, Cookie? Cookie. Wubbzy finally yelled, Cookie? I'll show you what's Cookie. Wubbzy then twisted the Cookie Kid's neck. I gasped in horror like if Wubbzy was an R-rated thriller show movie. Wubbzy went to Widget's workshop and proclaimed, wow Widget, you wanna play with my kickity kickball? Widget responded with, oh, sorry Wubbster, but I'm working on an invention. Wubbzy said, yeah right. He then ripped Widget's ears off and dropped a stone on her head. I paused the video and threw up in the bathroom. I then thought to myself, why was Wubbzy killing everyone just because they didn't want to play with his kickity kickball? I pressed play again. Wubbzy went to Walden's place. Walden said, Wubbzy, why did you kill Widget? Wubbzy bellowed, because they won't play my game with me. Prepare to say hello to hell, Walden. He got a pistol, and Walden let out a blood-curdling scream. Wubbzy pulled the trigger. Walden's dead body was shown for 13 seconds, and there was static for 3 minutes after that. Wubbzy held up what looked like 10 round black fuse bombs. He stared at the viewer for 5 minutes. It was unnerving for me. He then lit the bombs and put them all around Wuzzleberg. He then whispered 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The bombs then later got detonated and what looked like a fraction of all energy of a nuclear explosion rose up and created a shockwave which deafened Wubbzy. Wuzzleberg was now gone, and only the remnants of the buildings themselves, deteriorating cars, and overcooked flesh remained. The screen faded to black. An image later popped up. It had Wubbzy with black eyes and horrifically grinning with yellow teeth. There was French text on top of the screen. I translated the text, and it said, when your friends are dead, suicide is the only option. I was shaking. A demonic voice screamed, Wubbzy is going to get you and kill you to your doom. I jumped skidding around my head. Another image came on the screen. They were the corpses of Wubbzy, Widget, and Walden. There was no short or song. The credits were just black text scrolling on a white background. The usual instrumental for the show played, but it was highly distorted. The copyright date read 2005, the same year the weblog came out and a year prior to the show premiering on Nick Jr. The logos were also chaotically intriguing as horror. The Boulder Media logo had the person flattened, blood splattered everywhere, and the Stars logo had the star colored red. It finally ended. I never looked at Wubbzy the same way again. I kept the tape in a safe for the time being. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. It might have been that smiling Wubbzy image before the credits started. I looked up Wubbzy early reel on Google, but nothing came up. I asked my friend about the early reel of Wubbzy. He says he knows about it and there are 10 copies circulating in existence. I got beyond ballistic at this point. I went back home and watched other shows like SpongeBob and The Loud House to cheer me up. If you find a copy of Wubbzy's early reel, stay away from it at all costs.